January is bad news for relationships. It's an all-time high for filing for divorce, and lots of relationships come to a crashing end after the blissful holiday season. The good news is I'm going to share some information that might help you understand what brought you into that relationship to begin with, and what you might want to consider as you move toward a healthier place for yourself. Some of the information I'm going to share comes from an article I read in Counseling Today. It was written by Ross Rosenberg, and this was the May 2015 issue. Now, Ross comes up with a continuum of self that matches very much some of the technique and relationship explanation that I offer clients, and I really like the way that he puts it onto this little number line, and I'll share that with you in a minute. I share with clients often that when we're at our neediest, when we're at our most unhealthy place, we are not going to be likely to attract a healthy relationship. Not that it's impossible, but it's very unlikely. We have a tendency to be needy and clingy, and we're going to attract the hero who needs to swoop in and rescue us. And unless we both grow proportionately with each other, in other words, the hero grows to a healthier place and we also grow to a healthier place, the relationship may stay intact, but it's not going to necessarily be a healthy relationship. The hero's going to be kind of wondering when we need them again and kind of clinging on that neediness, and we might not be needy anymore and be feeling kind of frustrated by that hero mentality. So the way that Ross puts it is he considers it this continuum of self, and he explains it as why opposites attract, which we do. There's some excitement in attracting to an opposite. There's an energy there and something even almost to preserve the human race kind of biological drive to attract us to people that kind of that are complementary to us. In other words, their strengths are different than our strengths. But that can become very to an extreme and not always to a healthy extreme. So I have drawn out this continuum of self, and I am going to explain it. I don't know, is the lighting good? Let's see. Okay, so this is the continuum of self as it's explained, and I put all of his information above so he can get full credit for this explanation. So he presents this number line, and on this number line it's just like you would learn in math. There's this balance point, and then there's the positive side and the negative side. The catch is that the negative and the positive on this particular number line don't represent good or bad. They're just to show how they fall on opposite ends of the spectrum. So over here, these positive numbers would represent an individual and the degree to which they are focused on themselves. So the higher the number, the more focused on self that they would be, with the 5 being right there on the pathologically narcissistic end of the scale. And then the numbers on the negative side of the number line would be individuals who have a focus on others. And the higher the negative number gets, clear into -5, would represent their complete focus on others, with the -5 being on the codependent side. And he expresses, and I agree with him, that in relationships we tend to attract our opposite. So at least in relationships that are enduring. And when I say enduring, don't confuse that with healthy. They're enduring because they may last a while, because they do balance each other out. But that does not necessarily mean that it is a healthy kind of balance. So someone who has a -4, in other words, they're focused quite a bit on others, is likely to be attracted to someone who has a +4 focus on self. This individual's, kind of on the selfish side, and this individual feels really, their needs are met when they are giving to the other individual. So it's a good fit, at least to begin with, because this person continues to give to the other, and this person is kind of wanting to have things focused on them. so they balance each other out. Now, this is a fluid, in other words, it's continuum, because we're not set in one spot. We do have a tendency to fall on one side of the spectrum or the other, but we're not stuck in one spot. We can progress. If we have this -4 of this focus on others, we will likely progress to understanding our own needs a little bit better and possibly even better, and ultimately, hopefully, landing ourselves in this balanced place where we have a really good sense of others, but we also have a good sense of our own needs, and we're able to really strive to achieve balance in our life to meet both of those sets of needs. Healthy relationships are going to fall in this range. In other words, someone with a -2 focus on others, attracted to someone that's a +2 focus on self, and in anything brought in from that point, those are going to be more of the healthy relationships. Now, when you have two individuals that are on this balanced point, and they've both just really come to this sense of understanding their needs and the needs of others, those are the hallelujah chorus relationships. The ones that, we all kind of look at and gives us hope for the whole, for the institution of marriage, because it's just this beautiful thing. Now, early on in relationships, it's not that uncommon, especially for young relationships, to start in these outer brinks. And so long as both partner can move into this healthier, so healthy is brought in this way from both directions. This is where we find healthy. And as long as both people are moving in this healthy direction together, then again, it's going to fall into this healthy range. So relationships can last a very long time with a +5 and a -5. Are they healthy? Not at all. But they can definitely last a very long time because they've created a balance there. When you have two individuals that are both very focused on self and they both land over here, totally out of balance, totally unhealthy, and not likely to last either. So I think as we analyze our own relationships, maybe the relationships of key people that we know, key family members, different people that we've watched this unfold, this can really help us understand how relationships evolve and hopefully will evolve. The one spot on this number line that Ross describes as probably the most immovable, where people tend to stay a little bit stuck, would be when we get into the super duper pathological narcissistic side. Now, sometimes that can be based on addiction and other things that if health is improved, then perhaps they can come through and get to a better place. But there are some things about the pathological narcissist that's just beyond truly, hopefully science can explain it someday, but that person may not ever really find the ability to move on in. Hopefully. We certainly wouldn't want to prevent change in anybody if it's at all possible. I think for teenagers looking at relationships, the idea that being in these committed relationships at their healthiest, best as teenagers aren't ever going to be super rewarding or satisfying, because there's a tendency to be stuck kind of in these outer brinks at that phase of life. But hopefully when relationships are entered into in the young adult years, even if they start out in these edges, we can see them progress and move to that balanced point. So I really liked his perspective on explaining this. It certainly goes along with the ways that I like to explain it. It helps us understand relationships and why the one we were in might have ended in January. As a side note, I happened to draw that awesome continuum on the back of my daughter's little monster picture. Coincidence? I don't know.